Welcome to the latest episode of the Forecast in 5. I'm your host, Seth Katz. Joining us today is Adel Haj. Adel is the managing partner of Accutive Security, a cybersecurity firm reborn from a spin-out of Accutive Global. Joining in 2023, he helped architect the company's relaunch as a center of excellence in cryptography, data protection, and machine identities, a move designed to meet the rising security demands of global enterprises. In his role, Adel leads every major function of the business, from strategy to finance to operations, sales, and marketing. His career spans more than 2 decades in cybersecurity leadership, including senior roles at FireMon, Thales, SafeNet, and Ingrian Networks. Adel also has a UCLA alumni affiliation and holds an MBA from the UCLA Anderson School of Management. Adel combines deep technical understanding with a track record of building high-growth, high-impact organizations. Welcome, Adel. Appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you, Seth, and thanks to the UCLA Forecast team for having me. Always great to be back with the UCLA community and excited to share about my career and what I've learned. Let's dive in.
Great. Well, let's get started with some questions. Can you tell our viewers a bit more about Accutive Security?
Sure thing. Look, in cybersecurity, most consulting and SI firms spread themselves thin across every possible service line. We made a deliberate choice not to. Accutive Security is hyper-focused in cryptography, data protection, and machine identities. These are the foundational layers that secure everything else. If your cryptography is wrong, nothing else in your security stack matters. What makes us different is the combination of deep specialization and execution velocity. We don't just publish frameworks or hand you a bunch of slide decks. We architect, we implement, and we operationalize at the speed of the market. I just got back from Black Hat 2025 in Las Vegas. It's one of the world's largest cybersecurity shows, meeting with some of the world's best and brightest organizations and people. What is clear is our approach is working, and people really appreciate this hyper focus that we're bringing into the market.
That's really helpful, Adel. Accutive refers to itself as a cybersecurity center of excellence. Why is this so important now today than ever before?
Great question. Look, right now, every major organization is navigating a convergence of threats, regulations, and technology shifts. In this kind of environment, you can't afford to hire a generalist consultancy that does 50 other things on the side. A center of excellence means one thing. When you come to us, you get the best people in the world at this domain. That translates into fewer mistakes, faster time to value, and solutions that will stand the test of time. We're bringing in people who've done it at scale at very security conscious enterprises across the world. We're doing it with the precision of a specialist, not the pace of a bureaucracy. And here's the reality: companies are not hiring additional full-time employees for cybersecurity needs at this time. The economic landscape is in a weird state. There's headcount reductions, as we just got in the employment numbers today. And even when they do hire people, the new staff rarely have the expertise on hands to execute correctly or at speed. Meanwhile, our teams are executing thousands of these special projects, giving us exposure and lessons that no single enterprise can handle. I hear it from CEOs every week. We're not adding additional headcount to our cyber team, but we do have a lot of budget that we want to give to experts who can solve these problems for us quickly.
Thanks for sharing more about that. You spent the majority of your career working in sales and revenue generation related roles. Can you share more about your experiences working in sales and how that has helped get you to where you are now?
That's actually a good one. Look, most cybersecurity firms are engineering driven, which can be great until you forget that the end game is really delivering business outcomes, right? Not just technology. I apply my commercial background to give us as an organization and a different operating lens, and really trying to keep me and everybody else focused on value creation, not activity for its own sake. Every engagement, for example, with our Fortune 500 clients has to move the needle for the client, whether that means reducing risk, creating operational efficiency, or enabling them to have new revenue streams or increase their revenues. Sales leadership teaches you pattern recognition, the ability to see what drives buying behavior across industries or geos. I've really taken that discipline and applied it to building Accutive Security. We try to invest ahead of the curve and really align our engineers to the conversations that are happening in the boardroom and positioning ourselves as strategic partners rather than just another services firm. And you can really see this actually, right, amongst a lot of the top global executives. Take Mark Benioff at Salesforce, Bill McDermott at ServiceNow, and John Donahue at Nike. They all come from sales-driven and customer-facing roles, and they've really built world-class organizations by keeping commercial value at the center of the strategy. Even leaders like Satya Nadella at Microsoft or Arvind Krishna at IBM advanced through, the client-facing, market-facing side, not just engineering. So I really believe executives who rise from sales bring a different discipline that is very much customer-focused, has market awareness, and really has a focus on revenue orientation. And that's been a perspective that's really helped us here at Accutive Security.
Excellent points. While we have a number of UCLA Anderson students watching who want to move into a senior executive capacity as you have, would you be able to provide some pointers for those aspiring leaders?
Sure thing. I'm a big Bruin fan, love UCLA. Look, most of my career has been in sales, but going back to my, coming out of undergrad, I'd never imagined I would even be good at sales or I would come into a sales career. I actually studied cognitive science in undergrad, so it's been an interesting journey to get here. And I really owe it to a mix of people, places, and a bunch of unexpected opportunities that shaped me along the way. I've always had to, drive a personal drive to learn, to optimize, to win, and that's carried me forward. I do believe that modern education, and this is really important for these new guys and gals coming into UCLA Anderson, that there should really be two tracks of education. Go very deep in one specialty where you can be world class, but also build broad knowledge across business and life. I think they call this the T-shaped person, right? That there's a mix of depth and range, and that's been critical for me. Some of the experience that shaped me were working in, coming out of undergrad, I worked in the cognition and computation lab at UCSD under Professor David Kirsch, and I really learned how to think critically. And later, by chance, I was pulled into my first sales demo, and I quickly discovered that apparently I had a knack for understanding client problems, doing discoveries, and connecting business values back to the client problems. I eventually realized that while I understood technology and human-centered design and human-computer interaction, I lacked a formal grounding in finance, accounting, and marketing. The gap is what motivated me to pursue my MBA at UCLA Anderson, which really became a turning point in my career. Along the way, I had many mentors like Corey Hutchison, who, reminded me and taught me timeless truth. One of my favorites was always, Corey used to say, even turkeys can fly in the storm. And this was really an anecdote about the pre-2008 boom. There was really easy conditions and, almost everybody was successful. But when the storm of 2008 hit, only organizations with true value and resilience came out stronger. And that lesson stuck with me. As an executive, you must really operate at two altitudes. One is low enough to understand the details of the work, and the other is high enough to see the market landscape. And I think really these two perspectives are what I picked up from all the great professors and the great education at UCLA Anderson.
Excellent. Our students are going to benefit tremendously from hearing that. As cyber threats continue to escalate, we'll see AI tackle many tasks. But the cybersecurity landscape is only going to become more complex in the coming years. If we look ahead over the next decade, what do you think the future of cybersecurity will look like?
Sure. I think there's been a lot of talk about AI, but maybe less about quantum computing. Quantum computing and AI are both seismic changes. As I said, most of the attention has gone to AI and everybody's playing with these chatbots, while far fewer are preparing for the quantum era, which is right around the corner. When I get asked the question, people go, what do you see in the future, 5 years, 10 years out? How is life different? How is your industry different? I like to kind of flip that out and ask, what will actually remain the same in the next 10 years? That is kind of real strategy, right? In our business, some facts are timeless. Clients will always want better value. They will always want faster response times. They will always want reliability, expertise, and security they can trust. You'll never hear a client say, I wish you were less reliable, or I wish you knew less about the market, or can you charge me more, right? But the fundamentals are clear, and quantum computing is really changing the playing field. In this post-quantum world, there is going to be a zero-day event for cryptography. Once quantum computers cross this threshold, the algorithms we have used and trusted for decades become obsolete overnight. This is not hype, it's basic mathematics and physics. The only real difference is to build crypto agility into your business today. If you don't, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. The companies that prepare early will protect their data, avoid disruptions, and will aim to gain an edge for decades to come. We're helping some of the world's most important organizations, ranging from banks, governments, to high-tech manufacturers, become crypto agile and quantum ready. If us and others succeed, Quantum Leap will just be very much like Y2K. If you are old enough to remember that, nothing major will happen, and the public will just perceive it as another overblown threat. But it is a major thing, and in reality, there's thousands of people and leaders behind the scenes working to prevent this major disaster. So I would highly suggest people look into quantum computing and take it seriously.
So many important takeaways. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thanks so much for taking out the time, Adel.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And thanks to all our viewers for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of the Forecast in 5.